Welcome to the JFK Evidence Detection Film Group, where today we'll bust the myths and solve some mysteries on the backyard photographs of Lee Harvey Oswald. Published on the cover of Life magazine in 1963, shortly after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Early on, when I first started to compare images, I noticed something in the backyard photographs that you can see here inside this red rectangle. And if you look close, you see that the hair is in a swept-back hairstyle. By the swept-back hairstyle, what I mean is, like what you see in these two images, if you look at the side of the heads, the hair is brushed almost straight back and not down, straight back. This is a hairstyle that Lee Harvey Oswald never wore his entire life. So when I first started trying to make composite images, I tried to do it with people that had similar hairstyles. And so I tried George de Mohrenschildt, I tried Jack Ruby, and of course I tried Roscoe White and a couple of other people, and none of them were even close to being a match. After making or trying to make a matching composite image 5 times using 5 different people, I was about ready to quit and just give up. But I happened to have an image open of Kerry Thornley on my computer at the time, and as I was thinking about just quitting, I started looking at Thornley's picture, and I noticed a swept-back hairstyle. I noticed his jawline, his mouth, and other features that matched up with the backyard images, and I thought to myself, well, fine, I'll try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, that's it. I didn't have any great expectations of Thornley actually matching. In fact, initially, Thornley was not even a choice, so I didn't have a mindset that it had to be Thornley. He wasn't even a thought at the time. But surprise, surprise, Kerry Thornley's a match. Now, I know people can be stubborn, and a lot of people over the years have thought the backyard composite photo was made using a photograph of Roscoe White. And in the final analysis, I just want to say that it doesn't matter who you want it to be without checking it, without testing it and verifying it. It only matters who it is. Since so many people have believed that it was Roscoe White used in the backyard photos over the years, I'm going to take a moment and show you why Roscoe is such a poor match. And to do that, I had to start by resizing the images so they match at the top of the head, at the chin, and at the ears on both sides. The first thing I want you to look at is the hair inside the red boxes of Roscoe White. His hair is much, much thinner than what you see in the backyard photograph, which happens to be Kerry Thornley's hair, not Oswald's. But even if you look at the photograph of Kerry Thornley, again, Roscoe White's hair is much, much thinner. Then looking at the chins, you'll note that on the backyard photograph, the chin is very long and narrow, where Roscoe White's is very round, almost a cue ball shape. And if you look at Kerry Thornley's photograph, you'll see that the chin is again long and narrow. That's because on the backyard photograph, the chin is Thornley. So if you look at all 3 images side by side, you see that Kerry Thornley's chin is very flat and elongated, where Roscoe White's is very rounded. Then if you look at the mouths, you see that the mouths are visibly very different. Then look at the middle red line, and you see that the bottom edge of the lips don't line up, and the bottom of the ears don't line up, and the eyebrows don't line up. Now I could squish Roscoe White's head down so these things line up better, but then the head would be like 1.5 inches shorter than Oswald. So no matter how you try to manipulate the images, the backyard photograph and Roscoe White just aren't going to match up. Now, I told some people that in this film, I'm going to show you something in the backyard photos that's never been noted since the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So this is the first. I was going to do this at the end of the film, but I think maybe it's better to do it now, so when I make the actual composite image in real time, you know what to watch for. One question people might ask is, if the backyard photo is a composite image, how much of it is actually Lee Harvey Oswald and how much is Kerry Thornley or whoever? This much. Basically, everything inside the red lines is Oswald. Everything outside the lines, with the exception of the ears, is Kerry Thornley. During the Warren Commission hearings, the FBI swore that there was no visible difference in contrast seen in the image or the backyard photo to show that 2 images were merged to make a single image, even under magnification. I'm going to tell you that the FBI agents were either really bad at their jobs or they lied. And it's most likely the latter and not the former, knowing the history of the FBI. Now, before I go any farther, look very closely at this backyard image. I'm going to give you a few seconds. Look closer. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. There's an obvious difference in contrast or graininess seen in the image. If you look at this image, everything outside the red lines is Lee Harvey Oswald. Everything inside the lines is not part of the Oswald image. It doesn't have that graininess. Now, if you look where the two red arrows are pointing, that's the graininess from the Oswald photograph. That's not shadow. Obviously, the FBI lied when they said there was no visible difference in contrast. The Oswald part of the image is very grainy, where the parts of the Thornley image aren't. Now, if you go back and look at the backyard photograph, around the areas I pointed out, it looks almost comical because it looks like Oswald's wearing a mask. And this is most definitely a composite image.